So speaking about Romania, our bilateral trade, it has been going up for a long time. Only in the last few years, it has seen some mixed results, and 24 is probably not going to be the best year ever. But still, Romania is the 14th most important export destination for Austrian products. And from the import side, it's number 19, so it's actually quite ahead. But even more important is Romania's status as an investment destination. Austria is the number 2 investor in Romania. There are almost 4,000 companies which have part of their capital furnished from Austria. Of them, about 1,500 are active, and there are more than 100,000 direct and indirect employees financed by Austrian investment in Romania. The FDI in Romania is about 14 billion euros. But this does not include the reinvestment, and Austrian companies who are here already for quite some time, starting in the 90s, but with a big boom in the 2000s, they have reinvested a lot of money, and also, at getting in early, the investment was relatively cheap. So if you consider the value of these investments today, they would be by far more than the 14 billion euros. And for Austria, also Romania is the 6th most important destination of investment. And this makes that Romania is ranking far ahead of big and important commercial partners like, for example, France or Spain. A short word about our events, not all of them. Highlights, starting, of course, with today's webinar. We will have further webinars on tax. We'll be participating in the Automotive Expo, have a Romanian delegation to Interalpine. For those listening from Romania, of course, important is our networking event in May. And, the rest I leave to you to read at leisure. I'll be passing on then short view of our colleagues and our office, where you're always welcome for coffee. And now I pass on to Johannes Becker from Stalford Legal, Tax and Audit, who will put some meat on the bones here when it comes to funding. Johannes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christoph, for this kind introduction. Let me start with my slides. And before I get into details, maybe I'll start with 2 spoilers. The first spoiler is many of the programs that I'm going to talk about today are not yet very clear. So we have a relatively fresh Romanian government, so especially regarding state aid, but also partially regarding EU funds. Some of the programs have not yet been decided if or when they're going to be launched. So what I'm going to talk about today is, let's say, the ideal version, but it's always in brackets. You have to think that maybe not everything that I'm talking about today is really going to happen this way, or maybe there will be some changes in the programs. Second spoiler already, it's not working so well at the moment in Romania regarding EU funds, so I will get back to this a little bit later in detail and I'm talking a little bit more about certain programs. But as you see here, the opportunity, in fact, is huge. Romania has the opportunity for this decade, 2020-2030, to receive up to 100 billion euros EU grants. Reality is a big part of this money will not be used in reality. Yeah? The majority of these grants, like always in the past, is foreseen for public projects. So I would say about 15% plus minus are actually directly accessible to private companies. If you talk about EU investments for production, then it's mostly for SMEs and micro companies. Only when we talk about EU grants for energy, then everybody, also large companies, are eligible with their projects. Large enterprises, on the other hand, have several possibilities to receive grants from state aid programs that are going to be presented and financed by the Romanian government, and to which I will get a little bit later. What are the programs that I'm going to talk about? In large, we have the EU Structure and Cohesion Funds 2021-2027. We did have basically the Recovery and Resilience Fund, but that's more or less closed already. So I'm not going to talk about this because all the projects have to be finalized by August 2026. And this is why there are basically no more launches of new programs at this moment. Then I will talk about the EU Modernization Fund, about Norwegian EA grants, and about the state aid programs that are currently under preparation. So let's start with the Structure and Cohesion Funds 2021-2027. Coming back to my spoiler that it's not working so well. So you see we have a huge budget here. We have time until the end of 2029 to implement the projects. 4 years have passed, and actually at the moment Romania has used about 2% of the money. Yeah? This does not mean that we do not have many projects in several stages of implementation, but only 2% of the money actually have been paid out to the beneficiaries. So very likely Romania is going to lose a part of this money, unfortunately. Mostly projects, again, for public projects like infrastructure, sustainable development, health, and so on. There were some grants in different regions for larger SMEs. These have been mostly closed. Maybe there will be a second chance in case that money will be left over from other programs. Maybe they will launch them again because there was a lot of demand for this kind of grants. There will still be launched some grants for research and development by SMEs. And if you're talking about investments, only micro enterprises. So what is an SME? SME is a company that as a group has less than 250 employees. A micro enterprise is a company that as a group has less than 10 employees. That's, let's say, the basic rule. We're expecting this year alone to be launched about 400 separate programs, which is, due to my humble opinion, impossible to administer by the ministries because they're not prepared for it. So it will be, again, maybe one factor that will lead to the situation that we will lose money here. Enough about this. Let's go to the next one that's maybe more interesting at the moment for you. That's the EU Modernization Fund. So the Modernization Fund, that's a program that was launched in most of the European countries and that is specialized only on energy projects. And the budget is relatively unclear because it's the equivalent of about 200 million carbon permits for Romania. And if you look at the price fluctuations of the last year, you will see that it's between 50 and 100 approximately. So this means the real budget will be somewhere in the area between 100 and 200 billion euros. So this is a little bit unpredictable how much money we will have available. And this is why also the programs are a little bit unpredictable regarding when they're going to start and how much money will be available for them. But still, there are many things that we know already. So first of all, there's a general rule. You are free to choose the grant that you want to apply for. And there's usually a maximum threshold in these programs. And our recommendation is to think very well how much you're actually going to ask for, because the less grant, the smaller the grant is you're asking for, the higher the chances to actually receive it. So if you're €1 above the threshold and the budget has been exhausted already for the project that have asked for less money, then you don't get anything. So it's always better to go for less and get it than to go for too much and not receive it. We did have several programs that already started, especially for renewable energy, but also for storage of energy in batteries. But there's much more to come. Also, renewable will come again, especially for self-consumption, as you will see in a moment. But also batteries currently in preparation a program, and we will have additional programs for hydrogen, for geothermal biogas, even for atomic energy, for CHPs. And these have been announced, even though we don't know yet when they will start. So two programs that are very close to start from the Modernization Fund this year is the one that I already mentioned for renewables for self-consumption. Self-consumption means behind the meter. So let's say a factory or a deposit that's put some photovoltaic cells on the roof and uses at least 70% of the energy by itself without sending it to the grid. So you see here several maximum thresholds for money that can, or grant that can be asked for per megawatt in this case. Competition, as we've seen in the first call, is not very high, so it is actually possible to go relatively high without running the risk to not receive the money. So we assume that in the second, maybe in the third quarter this year, it will be possible to submit applications again. But we have seen that this is a program that's working relatively well. So if you're interested in this kind of investments, just go ahead. Another program is for energy storage and batteries. About a week ago, there was a first part of this program where we could submit some projects. In, again, 3, 4, 5 months, there will be a second round. There's one condition that's important. So the storage facility has to be directly connected to a production facility of renewable energy. The program that ended last year was only for renewable energy projects that are already finalized and producing. The next call will be also for renewable energy projects that are still under preparation. How far under preparation is not yet clear, but it's clear that there will be, of course, more eligible potential clients or projects that can be submitted there. Maximum 10 million euros per project or maximum 100,000 euros per megawatt hour. Prices, as I hear, for batteries are in the area of about 400,000 per megawatt hour plus minus. So just that you have an idea. Next big chapter is the Norwegian EA grants that will be granted to Romania again. The usual question that we're being asked is, why does Norway pay some money to EU companies? Well, the answer is very simple, because Norway wants to get access to the European common market, and not being a EU country, they pay several billion euros to European companies so that they can develop better. Especially, I think it's 10 countries at the moment that can access these funds, the 10 countries with the smallest GDP per capita. So Romania can get approximately 600 million euros. We don't know very much yet about the programs because they're still under preparation. I assume it will start sometimes, if we're lucky, towards the end of this year, but more likely in 2026. If I look in the past and also in a few papers that have already been published until now, the grants are going again mostly in the areas of sustainability, emission reduction, circular economy, innovation, sometimes social. Yeah, we will see. This is still under discussion. It is not only for SMEs, it's mainly for SMEs, but usually there's also a part of the project that is reserved for large enterprises. In the past, we've seen for investments that a company could receive up to 2 million euros for the project we receive. This remains, so it's not for very big projects, it's for, let's say, smaller and medium-sized projects. And one little hint that I will give you now, because anyway, nobody's listening, it's just the two of us talking. It helps in the evaluation of the projects if you cooperate with a Norwegian company. This actually, we have done this in the past with all our projects, and until now all our project has been successful. So this is really a very important factor in the evaluation of these projects. Let's go to the last part, which is, I think, the most important one and the most complex one at the moment. That's the state aid programs. And we have basically 3 ministries who are active in this: the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Economy, and the Ministry of Agriculture. Maybe some more will come up, but that's the current situation. So as I said, these grants or these state aid programs are financed by the Romanian budget. And this also means that we have a certain an issue here, I would say, because Romania has a huge budgetary deficit and huge pressure from the European Commission to reduce it. So the programs I'm talking about now are, let's say, still quite uncertain regarding the budgetary dispositions. It is not clear at these programs if they are going to be launched this year. At some programs, we already heard that they are going to use the budget for 2025 for projects that are submitted already in 2024, in one case even in 2023. So it is not certain that we can submit applications this year. On the other hand, it happened in the past that Romania suddenly found additional budget for this kind of program, so it is still possible that we can submit something. There is, of course, some EU legislation for state aid in the background that has been eased up in the past years as a follow-up to the COVID crisis. There are some basic rules that we always have to take care of. Many companies come to us and say, yeah, we want to invest in Romania. And then I ask them, okay, what do you want to produce? Yeah, I say, we're closing down a company in Germany or in Sweden or something like this. We want to move this investments production to Romania. Unfortunately, that's not allowed. So any movement or relocation of production facilities from one, not only EU, one EEA country, so that includes also Switzerland and Norway and Liechtenstein and Iceland, to Romania would make the project not eligible. And we have to be very careful of this because we're really checking it. There are differences regarding the region in the chances of the project in the evaluation, but also regarding the amounts you can receive and the percentages. And we've made a little map here so that you have kind of an overview of where it is more interesting. So the darker the color, the more interesting it is, the more money you can receive, but also the percentage is higher, and also the chances for receiving a positive evaluation result is higher. So honestly, in Arbeit and Timiș, in the very west of the country, chances to receive a grant are very reduced. So you see, the more east and the more south you go, the better the chances are. What is eligible? Basically anything you do on your plot of land, with the exception of the plot of land itself. Yeah? There's one general condition that's also valid, by the way, for EU grants. So the company must not be an enterprise in difficulties. This means that in the last balance sheet, it must not have had a negative equity, and it must not have used up more than half of the subscribed capital in the past years. There is fierce competition. So some of these programs in the last 2 years had, 50 or even 90 projects submitted, and in the end, only 3 or 5 or 7 would receive the funding, because the programs usually they prefer larger investments. And you're not allowed to start, in some cases, before submission. In some cases, you have to wait until approval of the grant. Shortly, let's go through these 3 programs that you see here, and then even shorter about new programs that have been announced. So there's one by the Ministry of Finance that is basically, it has a long tradition. It started already in 2007, 2008. Has been changed every time. Now, at the moment, only very few sectors have good chances. So the sector is an important evaluation criteria. The investment value, you see here, at least 10 million euros is an important criteria. The location is an important criteria, and the degree of digitalization is an important criteria. So they really want to have, let's say, high level, high know-how investments, and not necessarily textile industries. Yeah? In theory, 150 million euros, like with all the stated programs per year. But as I said, still uncertain if you're going to have a budget for this year. Next one is one by the Ministry of Economy that was announced already in July last year for production, almost all sectors in comparison to the program from the Ministry of Finance, even including recycling, which is, I think, good news for some of you. In theory, or also in practice, new and existing companies are both eligible and have both good chances. And the eligible costs are not only the investment costs, but also the salaries for the first 2 years. Minimum investment here is 5 million euros. So it's also not a very small project. But there's one important condition. If 2 projects have the same result in the evaluation, then the project that is asking for the smaller grant will be preferred and will receive the grant. So this means that I see many of these projects will actually ask for 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 million euros, but not much more actually. Yeah? Except that you get to the maximum of points, then maybe we could ask for a higher amount of money. One strange criterion I follow in this program, so procurement of raw materials should be as local as possible. So within a radius of 100 kilometers around the new investment, which for many industries is not really feasible. Yeah, we will see if this remains. The program has not yet been launched. We hope that it is going to be launched this year. It's again not 100% certain if it will remain like this. But if it would be launched this year, we could actually use the budget for 2024 and 2025. So we would have actually already almost 300 million available. The last of the existing programs is Invest Alim, that was launched in 2023 for the first time. This is only for food industry, and food industry very narrowly seen. So basically the end product is something that you can buy in a supermarket. And it is intended, as it was presented now in 2023, for very large investments. It was such that there were about 90 projects submitted, and in the first round, I think about 6 or 7 actually were approved. And then it happened that they actually said, okay, we're going to use the budget also for 2024. And maybe they're going also to use the budget for 2025 for the projects submitted in 2023 so that they can finance maybe 30 projects or something like this. You see here in the evaluation criteria, 10 points per 500,000 euros, which means that you have 100 million euros investment, you kill everybody else. So all the other points, all the other criteria are not so relevant anymore. It's most about the investment value. So we will see what is going to happen with this program. In the end, a little bit, few words about what may come. So actually the Romanian government, the old government in autumn, announced these 4 programs that you see here on the slide. And what you see in the slide is basically all we know about them at this moment. Yeah? So it is one for very large investments of above 100 million euros, 150 million euros investment value that create at least 100 jobs. There's one for decarbonization of industrial processes, but as it seems only for metallurgy and chemical industries. There's another one for metallic mineral resources, for mining with minimum 75 million euros per project. And there's another one for smaller industrial projects, also of large companies with an investment value of up to 3 million euros and up to 1.8 million euros grants. So it's not yet certain if these programs will actually be started, if the conditions remain the same as they have announced them. But it is not unlikely, at least we have not heard anything from the new government that they want to change it. So basically, this is it. As you've seen, a lot of uncertainty still. So if you have a project in mind for the next 1 or 2 years, maybe it would be best to just get in contact to us, tell us a little bit what you want to do. And the very moment we see an opportunity for financing, for a grant, for state aid for this project, we will come back to you in time and we will ask you if it's still relevant. And then we can check if you actually meet all the terms and conditions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you
will take
also.
over immediately, Christoph, if it's okay for you. Direct
It's
handover
very
from
much okay.
Bucharest.
I was just
Zagreb.
going to say the same thing.
Perfect. You see, it's
Up to you
going
now.
very fast in terms of time management. My name is Gerhard Schlattel. I am the commercial counselor, Wirtschaftsdelegate here in Zagreb, and it's my honor to welcome you for the second part of today's webinar, which will be dealing with the specifications of the Croatian market. For this purpose, let me share my screen. I hope you can see it already. In the meantime, I will give you a very brief overview of the most important numbers on the Croatian market. Our colleagues in Romania showed you the impressive figures that they have for the Romanian market. For Croatia, by comparison, it's somewhat a bit smaller. Austrian direct investment amounts to, as you can see, roughly 6 billion euro. Overall, I would say the current economic situation in Croatia is relatively good, of course, also due to EU funding projects that are basically the topic of today's webinar. Inflation rate, though slightly increasing at the moment, at the beginning of 2025, still below 4%. Exports from Austria amount to about 2 billion euro last year in 2024, GDP around $60,000 per capita. Economic growth still quite high, among the highest within the EU member state community. We have not 1,500 companies from Austria active in the markets as in Romania. It's slightly half of it, 800 companies active with an own legal entity in the Croatian market, employing roughly 30,000 employees. Economic growth in Croatia at roughly 3%, and the main drivers is tourism, which is obvious, as well as private consumption. With this short overview, I would like to introduce our experts for the Croatian EU funding programs. It is a consulting company that we are working with as Advantage Austria here in Croatia already for a long time. It is existing already more than 20 years, and it's the company Projekt Jednako Razvoj. is among the leading consulting companies in Croatia when it comes to EU funding programs. Our speakers today, Thea Kodrna and Katarina Bingula, both of them have numerous years of experience in this field, consulting companies, including Austrian companies, when it comes to the specificities of EU funding schemes and funding programs. Without much further ado, I would like to hand over to Thea and ask her kindly to share her screen. Thea, can you hear me?
Hi everyone, I'm sharing my screen now. It will be
Perfect.
visible in a moment, I believe.
Yes, it's visible. Thea, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure for us to be here and participate in today's webinar. We really appreciate this invitation. My name is Thea Kodrna, and here with me is also my colleague Katarina Bingula, and today we will be representing some funding opportunities in Croatia. To begin, please allow me to introduce the project Equals Development in a few words. We focus on development and implementation of EU projects, public procurement and training. Last year we celebrated our big 15th birthday, and during this period we advised over 2,000 clients. We participated in more than 1,000 projects with a total value of 300 million euros. We have currently 30 experts, and we are proud to serve as consultants in 900 public procurement procedures. In addition to EU project development and project implementation, we also do promotion and visibility of EU projects. Also, we prepare strategic documents. We also do business plans and prepare feasibility studies for loan application. And also we have developed our digital solution called PIER, which functions as a type of CRM system. I mentioned education. We also organize international conferences on EU funds and public procurement. And I would also like to take this opportunity to invite you all to our upcoming conference in the beautiful and hopefully sunny town of Opatija on March 13th and 14th, now in 2 weeks. Today, let's move on the content and topics. First, we will introduce the brief overview of the financial period 2021-2027 in Republic of Croatia. We will say which programs are available, and then we will move on to current funding opportunities. We will focus on opportunities which are primarily for big companies. We will, after that, highlight some key informations about calls, about deadlines, and the most important stuff about proposals. Please note that presentation will not only focus on EU funds, we will also discuss other opportunities such as financial instruments which are offering as capital rebate, and also some tax reliefs which are available for investments. At the end, we will discuss expected calls for 2025, especially is the year of R&D calls. And we will also mention some proposals for SMEs, which might be interesting for your partners in Croatia. Also, we will conclude with some tips and tricks for this period. In Croatia, what are the funding allocation? We have twice as much funds available now. It is about over 24 billion euros. This means more money for companies, more opportunities, and of course, more work to do. The documentation preparation process is more demanding. New rules must be followed. For example, the principle of do not significant harm has to be implemented in all EU projects, especially when it comes to infrastructural projects. Of course, timely preparation and collaboration with experts is here the key, and it's crucial because all of the project technical documentation must be ready at the time of application. This, of course, includes building permits, master plans, or the permits for electricity. So it's crucial to prepare your projects in time. When it comes to the keywords of the new period, we heard earlier, it's the inflation, it's the human capital, it's the sustainability, and of course you will, in the following slides, see how often green transition and digital are mentioned, focusing on, of course, reducing energy consumption, and of course we already have few calls for digital for digitalization. Others are upcoming, and I will now move to priorities. It is the first program, so-called business program for competitiveness and cohesion. The priority 1 and priority 3 is the highest funding. Priority 1 focuses on research and development for boosting competitiveness and digitalization, while priority 3 is more targeting energy efficiency and renewable energy. The second program for this period is Integrated Territory Program. It's a new program. It is designed for regions within the country of Croatia, except the city of Zagreb, because Zagreb is excluded because of its advanced development. Finally, the last national level program focuses on effective human potentials. This program is aimed at the civil sector mostly, and the public institutions, providing financial support for soft activities such as training, among others. Also in Croatia, we have a wide range of supranational programs, EU programs, from Erasmus, which is the one of the most most known, to Horizon program, which is the largest program for research and development, and of course also programs which are aimed to territorial cooperation and other. So now I will hand over the floor to my colleague Katarina. She will present the current opportunities. So Katarina, please go ahead.
Thank you, Tea. Next, we will introduce the currently available opportunities for businesses. We will briefly outline the most important calls, highlighting their objectives, eligibility criteria, and the approximate time frame during which they will be open. Okay. First is supporting companies in the transition to an energy-efficient economy. The call supports production investments by small, medium, and mid-cap companies in energy-intensive industries to foster a more energy and resource-efficient economy, integrate circular economy practices, secure sustainable raw materials, advance decarbonization, and increase the use of renewable energy. Eligible applicants are small or medium-sized enterprises or private mid-cap enterprise. Applicants with a share of energy costs in the applicant's income more than 2% in 2023 or 2024, and which include the following classes: activities within sector C, manufacturing. The allocation is 145 million euros. The amount of grants that can be awarded to each project by group is the follows: small and medium size enterprises, 70,000 euros to around 1 million euros, and mid caps it's around 265,000, and the main allocation is 4,600,000 euros. The maximum total value of the project cannot exceed 10 million euros, excluding VAT. About eligible activities, we have investment aid for energy efficient measures other than in buildings. Funding covers additional costs needed to increase energy efficiency in production and processes, e.g. waste heat recovery, rationalizing energy consumption, or improving process management. Then we have investment aid for the promotion of energy from renewable sources or renewable hydrogen and of high efficiency cogeneration. Funding covers total costs for installing new production system, electricity or heat, including storage if part of the same investment, e.g. solar, wind, geothermal, high efficiency cogeneration. And we have investment aid for resource efficiency and for supporting the transition towards a circular economy. It's funding for the new technologies that reduce resource usage, lower consumption, or replace primary with secondary raw materials, reused or recycled. And also we have aid for consultancy in favor of SMEs. The call was opened in September last year, and applications can be submitted until the end of May 2025. Next, we have loans for the modernization of production. Is one of the financial instruments, as Tara said before. It's the new program and is designed to help companies modernize, digitize, and boost productivity by offering more favorable financing terms. A key aspect is the combination of loans and grants, which significantly lowers the cost of investment. Plus, if certain criteria are met, such as adopting Industry 4.0 principles or pursuing digital transformation, or aligning with the smart specialization strategy, up to 50% of the loan amount can be written off. In other words, it's a strong incentive for businesses ready to innovate and expand. Users or eligible applicants are micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises registered in accordance with the National Classification of Activities 2025 in the performance of activities in the field of manufacturing industry of Area C, just like the call we mentioned before. Eligible investments are investments in fixed assets and working capital up to a maximum of 30% of the contracted loan amount. Investment in tangible and intangible assets related to by setting up a new business unit or expanding the capacity of an existing business unit, or diversification of the production of the establishment into products that the establishment concerned had not previously produced, or a fundamental change in the overall production process of an existing business unit. Loan amount, minimum amount is 100,000 euros and maximum amount is 3 million euros. Next, we will present 3 potential opportunities that are available to small, medium, and large business, all of which provide support in the form of reduced corporate income tax rate. The first one is Investment Promotion Act, and it offers a set of incentives from tax relief to grants to stimulate new and exciting business ventures. By lowering costs and encouraging innovation, it supports both domestic and foreign investors in driving economic growth. And in following section, we'll outline key benefits from each. Eligible applicants are, as we said already, micro, small, medium, and large enterprises, corporate income tax payers. Minimum investment required to receive the incentive is 150,000 euros and 5 new jobs for small, medium, and large entrepreneurs. 50,000 euros and 3 new jobs for micro entrepreneurs, 50,000 euros and 10 new jobs for the development of information and communication systems and software, and minimum of 500,000 euros and 0 employees for the modernization of business processes. Maximum period for using the incentive is 5 years or 10 years for 5 years for micro entrepreneurs and 10 years for small or medium or large enterprises. The beneficiary can receive the support in the form of a reduction of the corporate income tax liability of 50%, 75% or 100% of the annual liability in the maximum period of 10 years. The next one is regulation on the promotion of investments in the tourism sector. Eligible beneficiaries from the regulation are legal and natural persons, craftsmen who are subject to corporate income tax and who perform activities in tourism, namely the following activities: accommodation, food and beverage, travel agencies, sports and entertainment, and rental and leasing of waterborne means of transport. The grants refer to projects aimed at strengthening the competitiveness of tourism in Croatia, in sustainable, innovative, and resilient tourism activities, green and digital transition activities of Croatian tourism, activities of regional diversification and specialization of Croatian tourism, and activities for development of high value-added tourism products. Support reduced corporate income tax rate subject to maintaining an operational tourism business for at least 6 months per calendar year is available for accommodation projects, minimum 4 stars, like hotels, apart hotels, resorts, and campsites, hotel heritage and diffuse hotel, accompanying facilities like health, congress, nautical, cultural, sports, entertainment, high-value, innovative content, health institution providing health tourism services in hospitality facilities, independent infrastructure like congress, sports, recreational, or other innovative content, natural tourism projects, amusement or theme park projects, and restaurant and bars in tourism development index categories 0, 3, or 4. The maximum annual amount of state aid that the beneficiary of investment aid may use on the basis of this act may not exceed 7 million euros. And the last one is Act on State Aid for Research and Development project. The aim of the act is to increase private sector investment in research and development and to increase the number of entrepreneurs who invest in research and development and encourage cooperation between entrepreneurs and scientific organizations. The type of support granted by this act is also tax relief for research and development projects that belong to the categories of basic research, industrial research, experimental development, or for feasibility studies for research and development project. The support is exercised as the right to an additional reduction of the corporate income tax base or income tax for justified cost. Beneficiary may be legal entities, small or medium or large enterprises, and again, natural persons who are subject to corporate income tax or income tax and who have a business unit or branch in the territory of Croatia at the time of payment of the aid. The beneficiary of the aid carries out its own research and R&D activities in such a way that the project solves its own technical problem or scientific research issue with the aim of future commercialization of the final product, service, or process resulting from the research and development project. R&D activities must include 5 basic criteria: new knowledge, creative, new concepts, ideas, and methods that improve existing knowledge, uncertain in terms of outcome, systematic, and transferable outcomes are transferable as new knowledge, and or reproducible outcomes are repeatable. Thank you, Thea. You can take the floor.
Thank you, Katarina. Now we will move on the other calls that we expect that will be announced into 2025. These are mainly calls for research and development. First of them is aimed to focus on early stages of technological readiness level. Research organizations, including SMEs and also big companies, can apply, but big companies are eligible as project partners, and we must have at least one of the SME company in consortium. Its allocation is around 15 million, and this call was planned to be announced in the end of January, but it also is the call has not been published yet. The second call is for development of innovative products and services in advanced stage of development. A total of 190 million euros is allocated for the cooperation between business sector and scientific organization, and also large companies can be included. The second one and the final one is a call for strategic partnership in the field of industrial transition. It's from the program, ITP program, where the city of Zagreb is excluded. So we expect that the call will be announced by the end of this year. This call was also active in 2024, with part of the grant contracts being signed yet, and the other part is still in process. In total, around 220 contracts will be signed, and additionally for the next year there is an extra allocation of 100 million euros for projects in Adriatic, Pannonian or Northern Croatian region. It's also the main aim is to develop new products or new services. Now we have two additional calls in the field of green transition. The first one is focused on the development of new products and services that adhere to circular economy principles. This is also opportunity for small, medium, and large companies to support investments in activities and equipment, technical assistance, and as well information and visibility. And the second call is for the construction and equipping of a plant dedicated to the treatment of recyclable waste. This is for privately owned companies as well as companies owned by local and regional self-government units. Allocation is around 30 million and indicative aid intensity 85%. Now, this is the last slide in this section. We also mentioned financial instruments. This is the last one in 2025. This is also financial instrument with capital rebate. It's the combination of credit and capital rebate designed to achieve energy savings by maintaining energy efficiency. Also, it's good to mention that the trade sector and service sector will be eligible to apply with loans available for amounts up to 3 million euros. As we approach to the end of our presentation, I will just briefly outline the opportunities available for SMEs that might be interested for you. The first of one is main aim is to increase competitiveness through the certification of management systems and products. This call is currently open. Applications are being accepted, and allocation utilization stands at 73% at the moment. Another call targets innovative startups which are developing new solutions, offering support to bring and bring that ideas to market. Grant amount is minimum 30,000 to maximum 140,000 euros. Aid intensity is 85%, and the start date for receiving project applications is March 5th. Okay, we have also one R&D call. This call focus on fostering collaboration among beneficiaries to develop new products and integrate into value chains. We expect this call will be soon announced. You see here the date is 28th of February, and we expect that indicative aid intensity will be 50%. Also, we have one call for digitalization. It is also for all regions except the city of Zagreb, and also one call for internalization, market expansions, where is the focus on participation in trade fairs outside Croatia and B2B meetings. And the last one is a call for innovations under the smart specialization strategy. We will send this presentation so you will see these all details on each of the calls. Now I will let Katarina bring our final thoughts.
Thank you, Thea. As we move forward, just a few words. There is no longer a recovery plan to rely on. So now it's time to invest in your strategic development by aligning your projects with the key themes of the new era, such as sustainability, digitalization, and resilience. You can maximize the benefits of EU funds. And above all, be bold, seize the current opportunities, and come prepared with well-defined projects rather than mere ideas. This approach will help ensure your long-term success and growth. And thank you for your patience. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thea, and thank you very much, Katarina, for your inputs. Considering the time, I will share my presentation again, and we come to the very final part of our today's webinar. I will do this very quickly. Since the topic is funding schemes from EU and national programs, I want to highlight the fact that also the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber is offering 5 direct subsidies or so-called vouchers for Austrian companies. The reasons why these next 5 slides will be in German is because only Austrian companies in Austria are eligible to submit for their application for the vouchers. Very briefly, what's the main idea of these 5 direct subsidies or vouchers? First one, project voucher. That means if you participate as an Austrian company in international tenders, you can get co-financing for the resulting costs, be it feasibility studies, pre-feasibility studies, consulting, etc. Next, direct subsidies is the classic so-called internationalization voucher. That the main idea is to support Austrian companies in entering new markets. Of course, also, if you are not yet active in the Croatian or the Romanian market, you can get co-financing for traditional costs arising to the fact if you want to enter a new market. I immediately go to the third one. That is particularly interesting for Austrian subsidiaries, Austrian daughter companies in Croatia and Romania as well. That's the so-called education voucher. The main idea is that parts of the costs of training local staff in Austrian subsidiaries in foreign markets, these training costs can be subsidized. Of course, there has to be always a connection towards international business. Fourth voucher I want to present to you is when Austrian companies want to engage in digital marketing, digital campaigning, advertisement activities, there is as well a co-financing up to 7,500 euro for a market where there has been so far no digital marketing activities by the Austrian company. The fifth voucher, so-called sourcing voucher, is intended to support Austrian companies to diversify their sources for sourcing product services around the world in order to make Austrian companies more resilient. That's the main idea. If you want to get more info on that, please go on the website www.gointernational.at. With that, very brief outlook regarding our activities. Here we highlight some activities of our office here in Croatia that are dealing with topics around infrastructure. I will not go into detail, but here you can see as well a link where the link is always the same, and you can get updated and update yourself about our upcoming activities. Brief cross-selling of some publications from our office in Croatia. We have put together a so-called Merkblatt, or a leaflet on the topic of subsidies and funding schemes, as well as a second publication I want to highlight. It's an overview of Croatian companies active in the construction sector. You can just order it, send us an email, and we will be happy to send that to you. Brief look at our team and our office. Please just reach out if you have any questions. And that leads us to the Q&A session we're starting right now. And I would like to invite my colleague in Bucharest, Christoph Grabmeier, as well as the speakers, our experts for Romania and Croatia, to join me again and switch on the camera. I will start with one of the questions that were related to Croatia. One of the questions was posted by a consulting company in Austria who want to become active as well on the Croatian market. And the question was whether there is also funding and financing schemes supported by EU programs when it comes to consulting services industry. Thea, I would like to hand over this question to you.
Yes, well, it's not the call that only focuses on these kind of services, but we have a few calls for example, digitalization. It, of course, depends on the size of the company and the location of the company. So we have few opportunities, but not mostly which are focusing on consulting services.
I would like to continue right away with another question regarding the Croatian market by an Austrian company active in automation, and they are planning, or they are having a joint venture. The question is, are there any special rules and regulations to be borne in mind when it comes to subsidies and funding schemes for joint ventures in Croatia? Thea, please, again, the floor is yours.
Big companies are eligible on some of the calls, but on the other are not. So we advise that please feel free to contact us and we will give you more information. The best thing for the investments for big companies are the Investment Promotion Act. So you can get tax relief for your either wise equipment or infrastructural or construction phase of your project.
Then I see a third question, I would say, that applies to Croatia as well as to Romania. I would like Thea to answer first the part for Croatia. A brief question whether energy funding or why energy funding schemes are only applying and eligible for manufacturing companies. That was one of the questions. Thea, please.
Yes, not all, but unfortunately, because the Croatia is not as good as the manufacturing still. So this is the main reason.
Okay, thank you. I would like to hand over the same question also to our colleagues in Bucharest.
Yeah, well, in Romania, actually, the grants for energy-related projects are not restricted to production companies. So especially if you're talking about the self-consumption of renewable energy, any company that consumes electricity in, let's say, a reasonable amount, so that it makes sense for a larger project, let's say photovoltaics, is eligible. Yeah, usually there's a lower threshold. It was in the last period in some programs at 200 kilowatts and other programs at 400 kilowatts. So it's not, this means not very small project. It means about 2,000 or 4,000 square meters approximately. But if you can consume at least 70% of this energy that you produce here yourself within 1 year, then you are eligible for these programs.
Then I see another.
Go to the next question, which is directed at Romania. We have deposited the project to obtain development funds to micro entities on the Minimis program. Will there be other funds available in the next period of time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, we have in Romania 8 regions where one can submit projects. It depends on the region. There are some regions that have already launched their projects for investments of micro enterprises, others not. Yeah, but always bear in mind that being a de minimis program, you are not allowed to consume more than 300,000 euro grants, no matter how many projects you submit within a 3 years period. So this is your threshold. But if you are interested, best would be just to get in contact with us, and then we can check which region you want to invest and if there's still funds available.
Okay, the next question for both of our countries. If the company submitting the demand for funding is not profitable, is it possible to access these programs, or are there programs where you are excluded if you're not showing a profit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, in Romania it's such that in most of the programs, currently the request is that the company has been profitable in one of the last 3 years. Yeah, so it does not necessarily have to be the last year that you have been active in. So if you were profitable in, let's say, 2022 or 2023, it is still fine to submit a project in 2025. But always watch out, what I also mentioned, this criteria of companies in difficulties, so to not have negative equity in your last balance sheets, because this would disqualify you from start.
Thea, would you like to add something on the question?
Yes, in Croatia it is obviously for financial reasons less official data. So now it's either 2023 or 2024. It depends if the financial reports are already given to FINA, and the most of the calls exclude companies in difficulties, and it is definition of the commission. So each of company should do the checklist to see if they are in difficulties.
Thank you. Then I see, if I'm correct, one last question in the chat. It's about an Austrian company active in the area of testing of automation of digital processes, and they would not apply for funding EU funds by themselves, but they would be interested in partnering up with companies, I assume in Croatia and Romania, who are by themselves funding or asking or applying for funds. And the question is whether there is a platform that shows who is actually getting funds in order to reach out to them, and I understand to generate via this in terms of business development, additional customers, clients. Is there something like that in Croatia to see who's actually getting EU funds? Thea?
Yes, it is. Funds are given to companies based in the Republic of Croatia. So a company from Austria can participate in the preparation, but it cannot be a beneficiary. Cannot be
in Romania, it is basically similar. So basically, if you are a provider of equipment or of services from Austria and want to work with Romanian companies that have received the grants, then of course it is possible, but you, in most cases, you will have to participate in a tender. Yeah, so there is usually the ministries or the regional agencies publish the lists of companies that have won grants for the projects. Usually they also have digitalization or automation components in the project. But of course, then it will be up to you to check all the tenders that are being launched. And we do not have a centralized site where you can see the tenders, but you really have to watch the sites of each of these companies to see if they're launching a tender and what they're actually asking for.
Great. Then I look to my colleague in Bucharest. Christoph, do you see any additional question in the chat that we have not tackled so far? Checking again, I think we covered them all.
One last question. Concerning, I think, Croatia.
I think it was one of the first regarding an ERP system, yeah.
And I think this pertains to the activities about energy efficiency and reduction of the CO2 footprint. Basically, they would like to participate. So the question would be probably about the same thing as the last one. How do I get to know where people or companies receive funding for their activities pertaining to energy efficiency and reduction of CO2 footprint? So yeah, we would like to add something.
Yeah, basically the response is very similar like to the last question. So it depends, of course, on the individual tenders by the companies that have received the grants. Basically, yes, but of course you have to identify these companies. There are programs, of course, as I mentioned, especially for energy efficiency, but energy efficiency in many cases is part of any project. Yeah, so I think you have a wide range of companies that you can contact, but you really have to talk to the individual companies.
I would like to finish
on the Croatian side.
Yes, on the Croatian side, I would like to add an additional question, Thea, if you allow, because actually I've seen that was one of the first questions posted in the chat. It's about whether there is funding and support if a company, a daughter company, is upgrading its own IT and ERP system, so enterprise resource planning system. Is there funding? And if yes, is the subsidiary, the Austrian subsidiary, eligible or has the mandate and the duty to apply for the fund, or can it be done also via the Austrian parent company to apply for the funding?
Okay, yes, there is a call for digitalization of SME. So the crucial point here is that the company has to be SME. Austrian company cannot be applicant here in Croatia on our national fund or call, but eligible applicant can be based in Croatia. It is possible to develop own digital solutions, otherwise it is custom-made, or it is the implementation of the other digital solution provided by others. Concerning to the first question, yes, we have also here in Croatian Modernization Fund, as colleagues from Romania explained, it was a call for equipment last year for 2025 isn't in the plans, so we're expecting that more calls will be announced for 2026. And maybe there will be more opportunities in that way.
Okay, and then we have one more question pertaining, I think, mostly to Romania.
Yeah, so the question is, we build production plants to convert organic waste into feed and organic fertilizers. Yeah, yes, we assume there will be a grant, a scheme, as I said already, the one from the Ministry of Energy, of Economy, that was announced last year and has not yet been launched, would, I think, fit into this type of projects. maybe also the one that has been announced for the smaller industrial projects state aid program. We have to wait a little bit, until we have actually the last version and the final version of the terms of these projects and programs, until we can come forward with a final response to this question.
Yes. What I want to say to all our viewers and listeners, please do not hesitate to contact us or Johannes Becker directly with the specifics of your project, because unfortunately we do not have the time to answer each question in detail. And as you know, the devil is in the details. And so a conversation here with our experts or our offices is, I think, the next important step for you.
Great. With that, I would say we were able to cover most, if not all, the questions in the chat. I would like to say thank you for your participation from the Croatian side, to the Austrian companies in Austria being interested in the Croatian market, as well as the Austrian subsidiaries in Croatia. Thank you very much. There will be a lot of follow-up. You will all receive input regarding the recorded version of the webinar. You will get the presentations as well, the contact details to our experts that presented today, and feel free, as my colleague Christoph Grabmeier in Bucharest mentioned, to contact our office in Zagreb as well with your specialized and detailed questions. We're happy to follow up on that. So without much further ado, and with this, I would like to conclude our webinar for today and send you the best greetings from Zagreb.